event for you all today. As our lovely host stated, my name is Evelyn Duncan, and I will be your moderator for today's session. So in our session today, we are going to focus on going beyond the resume, rewriting your playbook for career growth and hiring success. So just a brief overview of the panel flow. So we will get started with the topics. We will get into some insights, and then we will have some time later for Q&A. So I am going to give each panelist just a few seconds to introduce yourself, your role, your company, and your passion.
Yeah, so my name is Shanae Urquhart. My brand is Recruiter Cousin. I have experience recruiting in higher ed, healthcare, big tech, and now a solely cybersecurity company. I work a contract right now for Palo Alto Networks. Some of my passions are the candidate experience. The candidate experience really means a lot to me. And so I really like helping people, engaging with people, helping people know how to navigate their careers and network.
Hi y'all, I'm Tiana and I have been in recruiting for about 10 years. I'm more on the client side now, so I work with different hiring managers at different companies. But I'm excited to be here, happy to answer any questions and help where I can.
So my name is Nate Wiley. I am founder and owner of Empathy Talent. So I own a recruitment consulting company, primarily helping out startups identify hard to find talent. Been recruiting for about 14 years or so, and I think passion, solving problems. Like I like working with founders to help them find the right fit for the role.
Hey, I'm Brian Fink. I'm excited to be here because my passion is taking people from better to best. I've done that at organizations like Twitter, Apple, Amazon, and most recently McAfee Security. I work with a handful of startups to make sure that they're able to scale from 40 people to about 400. And thank you for making time and making space for us this afternoon.
Thank you. So our first topic will be around the evolving hiring landscape. So the question is, what major shifts have you seen in the way companies evaluate today's talent compared to pre-pandemic? So either one of you can touch on that.
I got it. Okay, so there's a word that has been used gratuitously throughout the day, and that's AI. The companies that I am working with are expecting candidates to use AI in the hiring process. When you are applying for a role, look for the information on the client's website that indicates whether or not they're an AI-friendly organization, because you want to be able to put your best foot forward and not disqualify your candidacy by using modern techniques to solve modern problems.
So aside from AI, like a lot of what I've seen is like hiring managers are looking for soft skills. So it's important for you to have, just be comfortable in interviews, don't bash previous companies, and just like really talking more about like your soft skills as well as like your technical skills as well.
I agree. I agree.
So do you think that hiring has changed within the last 2 to 3 years? Because I know pre-pandemic it looks completely different from what it looks like now. So what do you think are some things that have changed?
I think hiring has changed because I think hiring has changed because a lot of people want to be in the tech industry more now than they did before. And so, which means the market has changed, which means more people are going to school or going into programs specific to getting into the technical field. So I think the hiring over the last 2 years, because the tech industry is sexy. You make a lot of money, you have work-life balance, you can travel, all the different things that you can do. Now though, you're competing with a bunch of people who want to be software engineers where at one point, a software engineer role might not have had a lot of people apply to it, but now they do. So I think now you're competing more with the numbers, which means hiring practices has to change to make sure everybody's being treated fairly.
Yeah, I think to add on to that, I would just kind of consider where we are in the pendulum swing of things right now. So I would say the landscape has changed because employers do have leverage. As you can see, like they're doing tons of layoffs. They're trying to replace employers with AI. They're forcing people back to office, trying to force some resignations. And really a lot of that is, trimming the fat of the company just to make sure that they can optimize profits, because they also know they can always hire these people back and or offshore talent or hire contractors. I know a lot of that sounds like a lot of gloom and doom, but I think it's important to understand what's going on, and you can't just go about your job search in a way of like, I have these skills, I can find the job, when that's not how the other team is thinking about it. They're really trying to run lean as possible. And so you have to make sure that you're coming across in a way that's going to make you stand out above any average candidate, as well as make sure that you're getting the attention of those actual decision makers.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
And are you seeing, compared to like remote and hybrid work, are you seeing that in the workforce now?
Personally, yes. I have a couple of people that I'm either working with or just reach out to me to ask some questions, saying they've had opportunities, but they had to relocate for those roles, and they're in a position where they can't, which is, again, this is on my own personal opinion. I think a lot of this is just about employers trying to regain that control that they once had, just because that whole remote work dynamic gave us a lot of freedom. People were job stacking, people were, working on vacation, all that kind of stuff. And so they want to make sure, hey, if I'm going to pay you $150K, I need to see you, I need to lay eyes on you. And so that is a real thing in the market right now. But given a lot of the uncertainty, that's going on today, I'm working with a client right now that it's hard to make hires because they are forcing people to be in office, but all the ideal talent lives in California. This client sits in Tennessee. It's like you're telling these people to sell their home and move their wife and 3 kids across the country for a startup. Like that's a risk. And so that's something that me and him kind of go back and forth about. But again, we have had people to relocate because they were struggling to find a role. So it's just one of those things that you just have to be cognizant of right now in the job market.
I definitely would agree with that too. I think that a lot of companies want you to be in the office 5 days a week now. They're not open to us talking them into remote or hybrid. So it's extremely important to know that now, that's really what's changed. And they're okay offshoring these jobs if people don't want to do it. So
They'll also hire people, they'll hire a second, or what we call in recruiting, a silver medalist candidate over their front runner if the silver medalist candidate wants to relocate over the front runner. So I've had that happen before. Now I have a little bit of I agree, in addition, little difference of opinion. I'm of the opinion that I think remote work should be earned. I do believe that. And I only say that because I think the training period should happen in person. Because if you can touch and you can kind of be in person and connect in person, your onboarding buddy, your manager, if they can train you in person, I think for them to understand how you're going to do on the job and then go work remote later, I do think that should be an option.
That is so controversial.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But the thing is, I have, only because in my experience, I have seen it where people get so excited to get remote jobs and they don't do well because either they were not trained correctly or they had too much freedom at home. And so I do believe that in certain situations, not in everyone, but in certain situations, remote work, I do think it should be optional for people who can appreciate it, right? But I do think that with remote work comes a little bit more of a magnifying glass because you have to perform to prove that you can work from home. And so there are companies in the world who are not interested in that. But I do think that if you're going to ask people to come into the office, you should give them the remote option later.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Okay, so our next topic is around what recruiters really look for. Now, the question is, how can candidates best position themselves for recruiter attention, especially in the current competitive market?
I would have the mic in my hand with this question. Okay. But try to say it the nice way. All right, Fatima, I heard you. All right. So I'll tell you all what not to do first. So do not come into a recruiter's inbox and say, hey, can you get me a job?
That is so huge. That is huge.
It is the most, y'all, I love people, so I'm gonna keep it above. It is the most annoying thing for a job seeker to come into a recruiter's box and say, hi, Shanae. And I go, okay, what do you want? And so people go, can you help me find a job? Doing what? I want to get into tech. Doing what? I want an entry-level job in tech. Doing what? So there are many times when people will come into our inboxes, and essentially what I'm saying is being unprepared. So for me, I would only want, for my inbox, I would want someone who says, Shanae, hi, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, this is what I've done in my research so far, but I'm just having a hard time getting connected or getting in front of the right person. Do you have any suggestions? Right? That's someone who they've done a little bit of work. Where I've had people that actually come in my inbox and I'll ask them, what research have you done or what work have you done? And I've had people go, I ain't do no research, that's why I'm asking you. Talk to you later, bye. Right? So some of the messages that we get are from people who just haven't done anything. So I would just say, don't do that. To stand out to a recruiter, you want to tell us exactly what you've done and then tell us where you're stuck. And if we can help you get unstuck, then that's what we'll do. If not, I'll send you over to Brian or Nate or Tiana, and maybe they can help you. So I would just say that, just be prepared.
And for me, I would say make sure you have your LinkedIn updated. Also, make connections with people. Like, I think a lot of people want to get into tech and they don't have experience. So it's important for you to make connections because sometimes it's about who you know, not what you know.
I'll keep it short. I would say that one of the best things someone can do is just learn how to advertise your value in a way that's going to be attractive to others. And sometimes that means, dialing up your skill set and being very specific in what it is that you've done and what it is that you can do for a particular company that you're trying to attract. And then also, I've seen a lot of success with people dialing down one specific skill set and making themselves come across as being like more of a generalist. So that way they can be more attractive. Say like, okay, this person can do program management and reporting versus just being a very strong analyst in a reporting function or something like that. So it's important to understand, who you're trying to attract and what would be most attractive to them, and then making sure that you're showing that you're valuable to them in that way.
I'm going to disagree with Tatiana. She put a lot of weight on LinkedIn. That's great. Yay, LinkedIn. Who loves LinkedIn? Let me show my hands.
Everybody.
Yeah. You know what I like? Is I like people who can build their own door and open that door. LinkedIn is a door that closes for a lot of people because they want to see who you are and what you look like and where you hang out. I think that you should go to GitHub, and I think you should show people what you build, that you're good at Python, that you're good at C#, that you're deep in Kubernetes, that you're contributing to the code base. I think that you have to build. You can't wait to be found. You have to build that door.
That's a good point. Tiana, you mentioned being able to make those connections. So how do people actually make those connections?
Okay, so since I disagree with this guy, basically what it is like if you went to college, I didn't go to college. I went to college for a year, but that was it. I didn't graduate. However, like I'm going to use that to make connections, like going to Virginia State or wherever you went to school, Ohio State, whatever it is. Reach out to hiring managers that went to your school, like, and just say something fun, like "Go Buckeyes" or something, and then you start a conversation, and from that, like you can build relationships. I've been really successful in this industry from building relationships with people, right? Like, I don't know everything in tech, but I can find, like if someone came to me and said, hey, I'm looking for a job, like I might not be able to help you, but because I'm well connected, I can find somebody who can help you. You know what I mean? So I think it's really just about like reaching out to people, ask questions. Like people want to help people, you know what I mean? And people want to talk about themselves. And in the IT industry, like you have a lot of hiring managers who want to share things about themselves, you know what I mean? And they're happy to help you, and that's it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And what do you guys think are some common mistakes that derail great candidates, whether it's during the interview sessions or even on their resumes, before they even get their foot in the door? What are some of the things that you think derail candidates from even getting seen?
I'm animated, so I like to have fun. So I would say it's when people use AI for their resume. So here's what I mean. There is nothing wrong with you using ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, whatever you're going to use to help you with your resume. The problem is when the system itself creates your resume for you and you can't speak to what the system has put on your resume. That's the issue. So I've screened candidates. I screened somebody that had doctor in front of their name, and I was asking them very foundational tech sales-based questions, and they couldn't answer the foundational questions that I was asking. So after the screening, I was like, well, that was AI generated. And so the hiring manager asked me, how did that person do? And I said, it had to have been AI because they couldn't speak to what was on their resume. Another example I'll give you is I recently had a candidate who did well with me. Screen was on, did fine. Got to the hiring manager, and for some odd reason, his screen didn't work. And so not only that, his voice almost sounded very computerized. So the hiring manager can only assume, I can't see you, and you sound like you read. You don't even sound like you're talking to me. So I would just say, if you're going to use ChatGPT in your interview, please make sure we can't tell. Because I don't care what the commercials say or the advertisers say, yes, we can tell. So if you need help, it's okay to actually invest into a career coach who does mock interviewing, who can actually tell you where you're going wrong. But if you use AI, just make sure you don't get caught.
Yeah, it's like a laundry list of things I feel like could really trip you up. And my advice would be to make a list and prep yourself before any sort of interview, whether it's with a recruiter or a hiring manager or any additional type of team member at a company. Because oftentimes, like, I've not moved people forward, or the hiring manager's chosen not to move people forward just because they may look very unprofessional on the call. They may lack energy. They may not answer questions. They may seem like they're not engaged. And so these are like very small things that you kind of only have one shot in order to hit with people. And it's, I'm not gonna say it hurts me because it was their fault, but I would hate for you to miss out on an opportunity just because you was a little sleepy. So I always tell people, get into character. It doesn't matter, what the opportunity is. It doesn't matter if you're super excited about it. Just pretend like you are. If you jump into the call for, 10, 15 minutes, it's not feeling right, you don't think this is your thing, finish out the call, you made another network, follow up with an email, it is what it is. But you don't want to sort of, just have an unnecessary misstep just because you kind of go into it with this kind of blah type of attitude that comes across to the hiring manager or the recruiter that you're not really interested in the opportunity, because we have a lot of other people we can talk to, and we're going to prioritize those folks.
I agree with everything that Nate said. The only thing I would add to it is show up hungry. Closed mouths do not get fed. If you are interested in an opportunity after you've spoken to the hiring manager or a team member for 15 minutes, make sure you're asking, what are the next steps? When can we get together and collaborate together? What is the problem that is keeping you up at night? How can we solve that together?
Yeah, no, that's huge. I do hear from a lot of candidates that say, I have a polished resume. I made sure I went through a career coach. We put our resume together, but I can't get past the ATS system. That might sound minor, but what in any way can candidates get past a company that uses an ATI system?
My favorite subject. Number one, do not put your picture on your resume. And the reason that you don't put your picture on your resume is because when it goes into the ATS uses optical resource configuration, or ORC. You guys know what that is because you're developers, you're engineers. It's computer vision, right? It doesn't know how to read a picture. It doesn't know how to reduce it to ones and zeros. So you're wondering why you're getting kicked out like 2 minutes after you apply? Did you put a picture or an infographic on that resume? Because they can't read that, right? Number two, you can't sit over the recruiter who's on the other end typing in the keywords that they're using to pull up your resume. Let me suggest that you state what you did and the outcome or impact that it had. Don't just marry it to the job description. Make sure you marry it to accomplishments and outcomes. That's how you're going to get past an ATS. And look, the ATS, it's been victimized. I realize there is Mobley versus Workday. There are a lot of factors that are out there, but the reality of it is that you've got a human in the loop, and that human is the person who determines whether you're moving forward or not if you're not making those table stake mistakes.
Yeah, and I will add on to that. Make sure that you're tailoring your resume when you are submitting. I know it sucks. I know it takes a lot of time. Maybe one way to go about it is like maybe chunk certain positions together that are very similar. And then that way you know that the resume that you're submitting to those group of positions are well aligned. But what I see usually is, someone is submitting the same resume to 50 different positions. And these 50 different positions have different job descriptions, different requirements, different qualifications, and maybe even different industries. And so what you want to do is submit a resume that is going to pair almost as closely to apples as what that company is looking for. Use the same jargon, use the same buzzwords. To his point, make sure that you're listing out what are those problems that you solve, what are those outcomes, results, loaded with data that makes sense for that particular role. And I feel like that's what's going to help you stand out a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it is a very competitive market. You do have to submit a lot more resumes. I wouldn't put too much stock into saying like, hey, I submitted 100 resumes and I only heard back from, X amount of companies. You just have to keep going. That's just where we are today. You do want to get smarter. You want to make sure that you're sort of noticing which ones are picking up traction, but you just have to keep submitting and making sure that also that you're following up with individuals on LinkedIn is what I would do.
And just to add to that, I'm always going to go back to the relationship piece, right? Like as a recruiter, we get probably 500 resumes for one job. So, and 95% of those resumes are not a match. So half of the time, I'm not going through those resumes, just being truthfully honest. So usually I'm gonna go look for the person to find the right qualified person, right? So you wanna also make sure your resume is listed on like Dice or Career Builder, Monster, again, LinkedIn.
Or your personal website that you built.
Yes. But then also reach out to us, right? Like you can email us and send us your resume directly and I'll look at it that way. But if I'm just looking at an ATS where tons of people apply, like it's hard for me to go through 500 resumes,
I agree. Yeah. No, so the ATS, so what you all don't know is the ATS has what we call automatic disqualifiers.
Yeah.
In the ATS, we can put questions, right? So when y'all go through the ATS or you're going through your application, what we call on our side is the applicant tracking system. So for those of you who don't know what ATS is, applicant tracking system. When we put up a job, we can put questions in the application. If you answer no to any of those required questions, you are admitting that you don't meet the basic minimum qualifications for the role that the recruiter is currently trying to fill. So that, in that sense, you're not beating the ATS, so to speak. You have admitted that you don't qualify for the role by answering no. Now, there are people who will answer yes to get into the pool. Y'all don't know this, but we actually do read resumes. So we are exercising our due diligence to make sure that if you answer yes, you still qualify for the role. When it comes to the applicant tracking system, I do want you all to understand that if you got an email 2 minutes after the ATS, after you apply, that's not always the applicant tracking system. Sometimes it's me. It's not always the applicant tracking system because I'm just quick. So I try to catch resumes as they come through. Now, I'm not going to catch every single one as they come through, but there are times when if you apply and an hour later you get disqualified, I did it. I just want you to know, I did it because I actually looked at it and you just don't qualify for the role. Like Nate said, just keep going. So you're not going to get picked for every single thing. Tiana also mentioned it as well. For those of us who have 10 plus job description or what we call requisitions in recruiting, we have probably 500 or more people that apply to each one that we have to fill. So it's going to be very difficult for us to go through every single resume. There are also times where if you get an automated message saying you didn't get the role, it's not that you weren't qualified. There were just other people in the pool who were also just as qualified as you were. And there are also other people who also got disqualified even though they were qualified. Recruiter and Ryan. So all of that said, just know that you're not necessarily beating the ATS. What you're really up against is the number of people who are actually in the pool with you that you can't see.
So our last topic is on career growth and global opportunities. So the question is, how can today's professionals take better control of growing their career? Whether it's turning their skills, their networks, and experience into career opportunities. Now, it could be either global or non-global.
So here's where Tiana and I really agree. Relationship building is probably like the number one thing when it comes to growing your career. When you're in corporate, there's a difference between having a sponsor and having a mentor. Your mentor is the person that you complain to. Your mentor is the one that if you tired of this shit today, you tell them, okay? The sponsor is the person who's going to say or advocate for you when it's time for you to be promoted, certain bonuses that you feel like you should be getting that you're not getting. Normally the sponsor is the executive or the senior director or someone who can speak on your behalf when it's time for you to go to the next level. Your mentor is really helping you also navigate those spaces, but your mentor is a little bit more of a personal connection. So I don't want you all to get the two mixed up. And the last thing I will say before I pass the mic is, I'm going to say personal brand, but it does not mean you have to be on social media all the time. Your personal brand and connecting with people and remembering how people made you feel is also going to be important to your career growth as well. So for example, I created Recruiter Cousin. I didn't expect Recruiter Cousin to grow into this brand that it is now. My goal was to create the brand so that people understand that when they come to me as a recruiter, they feel like family when they're coming to me. Cousin. Black people, black community, we call each other cousin, fam, or friend. Sis, bro, bruh. That we just adopt each other, right? Yeah. So the idea behind that is always going to be at the foundation for me is relationship building.
I agree.
I would say the first thing I would advise is just to take complete ownership of your current situation and really identify, financially as well as like professionally, like what are your skill sets today? Kind of going back to the value point I made earlier, and start to understand which way your job function and or the company that you work for is moving. Like where is the tide sort of shifting towards, and making sure that you're moving with it and not just being stagnant and crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. I think something that to the earlier point about networking, I see a lot of people who work for these 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people company only talk to 10. Like you can do internal networking, you can switch departments, you can follow a person to their next company. And so I've had a lot of success in my career doing that. Like a lot of the clients I work with now are people I hired and or worked with when I was with Lyft a few years ago. And so those connections carry over time, and you're really just making investments in your future and your career growth. But I think it's important to really take stock of where you are today. Are you at risk of losing your job? Can AI do your job very easily? Is your company downsizing in certain areas? Is the product your company sell crap? Like, is AI doing the whole thing that maybe your company had a big contract with someone to do, and now they cut that entire contract? Like, you really have to get smart and start to research and understand like where you stand, not just in the market itself, but also like within your company, within your team, and start to figure out, do you need to make a move like sooner or later?
So I agree with Tatiana. I know I said, I bashed LinkedIn, I took it out like a pinata and swung it around for a minute. The reality of it is that on LinkedIn, there's so many disingenuous connections that are made where people just simply reach out for the sake of reaching out. Today, we've had a tremendous amount of opportunity in this room. I've had the opportunity to shake hands with people, say, what are you doing? What are you building? I don't know if I'm gonna turn this into a relationship where I place you in your next job or I introduce you to your next coworker. I don't know, right? You have to come from that authentic space and act in a vulnerable capacity and not seek to have people fill up your cup, but to see what you can do to fill up other people's cups.
Thank you so much to our panelists. I think I'm hoping that this has been very informative for you all. So we'll open it up to Q&A, any questions that you guys have that our panelists might be able to answer. Okay, go ahead.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for sharing. It was really informative. I kind of want to go back, I think 2 questions ago, when you mentioned we're not actually, some of us were disqualified from a position or a requisition, I think is the terminology that you used. So my question is, if we're competing against the pool, is early application important? And if so, is that why we should kind of sign up for the alerts and job notifications and things like that?
What answer?
Okay.
I'll give my take and I can pass it to Sinead. For me, it's about timing, so it does depend. I think that signing up for those alerts, I know a lot of companies now within applicant tracking systems, you can join the communities that actually may actively suggest roles for you based on the resume that you have on file. So I think that is a proactive approach. But sometimes it is about timing. Like you may be applying to jobs at 9 o'clock at night. I may not start looking at those applications until 2 o'clock the next day. And so your resume could have gotten buried by that point in time. I don't know. Or you might apply at noon and just so happen I'm in the system, yours come through and it just jumps right into my lap. So it is a timing thing, and that's why I always suggest, like, as you're applying to roles, try to find individuals at those companies that you can at least reach out to, and you don't have to reach out to them like your best friends, but say, hey, saw this role, I think I'm a great fit, here's my resume, here's why I'm a great fit, give them 2 or 3 quick bullets, would love to connect and chat. At least you've gone a little bit further than just being in that stack of 500.
So there are a few things that I would do. So I am the recruiter who believes in the early bird gets the worm. I do believe that. But But that's not true for every position. That's not true for every recruiter. That's not even true for me all the time. What I will say is early applying does work, but early applying can also get you buried. Because sometimes the recruiter can go by a few things to find an ideal candidate. We can go by a Boolean search, and we put in keywords. We can go in alphabetical order. We can go by date. We can go by company. We can go by, there are just many things that we can go by to try and find an ideal fit. So it's not always that the early person is going to go shoot directly to the hiring manager. If you're applying to a role, you definitely want to set up those job alerts. I do believe in setting up job alerts. So there have been many people who've applied to the roles that I recruit for now that said, oh, I saw the role on LinkedIn and all the things. So I do think that if you have job alerts set up where you didn't know about the job, like I got my job at Microsoft because LinkedIn emailed me and told me that Microsoft was looking for recruiters. That's the only reason why I knew they were hiring for recruiters. So I do believe in job search alerts, and I do believe in early applying, but I also believe in, after all of that, you still have to try to find people in the company and introduce yourself. So I've had candidates shoot to the top of the list because they found the hiring manager and didn't even know they were talking to the hiring manager, or they found the recruiter and they didn't know they found the recruiter, or they were nice and polite in their inbox, because y'all can imagine how many rude people be in there. They were nice and polite and said, hey, Sinead, if you have a moment, do you mind sending my name or credentials over to the right person if it's not you? I got a template for that, by the way, if y'all need help. So all that to say, you have to do more than just early apply or just set up job search. And it's always going to go back to how are you connected with people.
I think I saw one hand raised for.
I'd like to add one thing to that. Has anybody here ever applied to a ghost job? Okay, all right. So I like to wait 72 hours before I apply to a job, because LinkedIn, if a job pops up and it's a new job, people have the opportunity to disposition that job as a real job or a fake job, and LinkedIn takes that very seriously. So if you're gonna use LinkedIn as your job search and you're gonna have those alerts, go back 72 hours after you got that alert and take a look at that. That would be my advice to you there.
That's important. Yeah. Yeah.
So I will tell y'all, the ghost jobs can be ghost jobs in the moment. Hear me out. So there are times when a company, trying to say this so I get in trouble. Where a company is going to post a role that they may not be hiring for in the moment, but they know that headcount is coming. So they need to build their pipeline so that they can interview you, and then once the position becomes open or the headcount becomes available, we literally just push you into that job. Some companies call it ready to hire. Some companies call it proactive hiring. Some companies call it just literally like stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So it's not always ghost at every single point of the search. It may be ghost in the moment, but it's because we're trying to prepare for when positions are coming down the pipeline.
Do y'all see why I say relationships are so important? We all do it differently. Like, I don't even look at candidates that apply. I'm just being honest, because 95% of them are not a fit. So for me to go through tons of resumes is a waste of time, right? So just make sure your resumes are posted in the right places, so when we are looking at those job boards, we can find you. And then also build relationships.
That's it, build relationships. Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. My question is, you're talking about job boards. What other job boards are there to post my resume rather than LinkedIn, Monster, Dice? Like, what are out there for us?
Okay. Tanya, you want to go?
You want to go first?
Who here likes money? Who here likes money? All right. So the venture capital companies like Kleiner Perkins, Y Combinator, they post all their jobs, and their jobs are not scraped and posted to LinkedIn, Indeed, or Monster. So what you're doing is you're going to the people who have the money, who want to see their investments, those seeds that they've planted, succeed. Go to the money. Apply on their job boards. There's also a job board here in Atlanta that I think is really good. It's called Hypopotamus. HYPEPOTAMOUSE. I'm sorry, I don't know how to spell, right? But you might want to go take a look at that. That's a niche job board that doesn't push to LinkedIn or Indeed.
The one that comes top of mind to me is one called Well Found, that usually is a lot of companies that are like startups that are posting positions that may have some roles that aren't yet posted on LinkedIn, usually because they don't have someone to manage that relationship with LinkedIn and create like these like very scripted, formal type of job descriptions. Well Found is more like a, hey, this is what we need, what do you do? More of a casual type of job board where you can just in plain language say, hey, I'm a good fit because of XYZ. So I would try that. And then also don't overthink it. Go to ChatGPT and say, hey, what are some other job boards? I promise you'll list out a ton. I can't think of them right now, but there are job boards for remote work. There are job boards for just your industry. There are job boards, like I said, in your city and locally. So make sure that you're sort of, exhausting all your resources already. That you have in front of you, and then if you feel like you hit another wall, then start to reach out to recruiters to see like where they can point you.
I got a list, if you want a list. So I got 23 job boards right here, but I'll read 10, and then if you want the rest, just send me a DM. So on Instagram, Recruiter Cousin, if you send me a DM, I'll send you this video, because I put a whole bunch on a video. So some of these may still be in existence, some of them may not, because this is a little old. Jobwell, Way Up, Upwork, for people who are in North Carolina, Work in the Triangle, NC Works, NC Job Network, Idealist, Simply Hired, Snag a Job, Get Work, and then some of those are specific to remote work. So if you want a list, I'll just send this to you.
I got one other tip.
Thank you. Okay, if you were looking for a job on LinkedIn, you have that little green banner that says that you're open to opportunities, right? People that are hiring have a purple banner that says, I'm hiring. If you have free LinkedIn, if you have paid LinkedIn, whatever, you got LinkedIn, go up to the search bar, it's up at the top, quotation mark, I'm hiring, close quotation mark, and you'll be surprised how many people it pulls up that are actively hiring with that purple frame.
That is a great tip. So once again, did you want to? No, go ahead. Once again, thank you so much to our panelists. You have given a lot of useful. We have one more question? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't think they made a live. Taking like personal inventory on where you are professionally and financially, helping you strategize when it comes to job search. Can Nate and also the other panelists, if y'all have some advice on like what, like can you go a little bit deeper on like what does that do when it comes to strategizing when you know, okay, this is where I am financially, this is where I am career-wise, what can I do with it to get the job or just get the role that I desire?
So essentially, the way I look at it, and because I do run my own business, like to me, it's like cash flow. It's like runway. So if all my clients dried up today, do I have operating costs? Can I pay my rent? Can I pay my bills? Is my lady gonna be mad at me because we can't do X, Y, Z? Like I'm sort of factoring all this in. I'm understanding like, okay, with all that being in mind, let's just say money does get tight. Where can I cut off? Like where's the overhead that I'm sort of wasting money, or what's a nice to have? Again, it's almost like running a fire drill for your life. I hope this stuff doesn't happen, but if it does, I need to be ready and kind of understand so that I don't panic. And then now that I have that understood, all right, this is how much money I'm making a month. Is there a way I can save more money? Am I wasting money anywhere? Let me cut that off. All right, how do I gain more money? Okay, here are some opportunities I've kind of had in the crock pot for a while that someone said, hey, Nate, if you ever need anything, let me know. Let me touch base with these people, see if they got anything going for me. Do I need to adjust my skills? Do I need to take a certification course? Like maybe I need to take something in AI prompting. I see that's getting very popular right now. And so again, like this is very specific and personal to me, but these are the things that I think about, that I map out, that I'm trying to figure out to make sure that I'm, prepared for what may happen. And again, I'm just being honest, a lot of this comes from, just uncertainty in the job market with all the layoffs, uncertainty with tariffs, uncertainty with administration, economy, whatever. I don't want to get into all that, but there's a lot of things sort of shaky right now. I don't want to get to a point to where like I'm just completely caught off guard and I don't know what's going on. And so that's why I say like I like the fact that I've gotten to a point to where like I do work remotely, so that if I do have to move or something like that. Sorry. So if I have to move, so if I have to move, they cut me off.
It's like that's how we're doing. We're at time. Right?
I think they are.
All right, it's the third one now. Okay.
So that I can move around freely.
So get the other one from her.
Hold to one company, or that I'm not, held captive in a sense by that one job. So if they do layoffs and all that stuff. So I like being able to be agile, flexible in that way. I like that what I do. Me and Brian were talking about, we could be on retainer. We
Give us that Evelyn and then take it up.
And so like I'm just trying to optimize the way I make money. I think people can start looking at like, is your skill set something you can sell as a consultant? Can you do it in a contract format? Or does it have to be like full-time, 40 hours a week on site? Like these are the things that I encourage people to start to think about in order to kind of map out sort of their career growth.
I'm just going to make a quick executive decision. So we have probably more questions. So I'm just going to limit it to maybe one recruiter to answer the questions. Is this okay?
Okay. My name is Austin Drummond, SAP consultant. So I know we've talked a lot about on the recruiter side. I want to ask a question from the candidate side. Recruiter accountability.
Oh.
So we can put it in the application. We can be as sweet as we want to be. But where's the callback if we don't get it? Or the feedback of what we did wrong? Or say a recruiter calls me about a job, I can tell they didn't read my resume. How can I talk to somebody who's actually going to treat me not like a number?
That's a good question. So I think, so recruiters tend to get a really bad rap because a lot of times you will go to interviews and recruiters won't call over.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you have to find a recruiter that has your best interest at heart. Like for me, for example, I'm gonna call you back and give you feedback. Like why you didn't get the job, what you did well, what you didn't do well, and why you decided to pass, or why moving forward, whatever it is. I think you have to find that recruiter because there are tons of recruiters who are very transactional and they just want to get you in and out. Like, oh, he got an interview, great. He didn't get a job, I'm not gonna call him and tell him. So move on to the next candidate, and that happens a lot.
Hey everyone. Oh, this thing is up. Hey everyone, my name is Brittany, and actually my question kind of piggybacks on his. So if you were to go through an interview, and at the end of the interview they say you did great, but you didn't get the position, and oftentimes you'll hear, we'll keep you on file, or we'll reach out if something else comes up. I would like a genuine response of, is that a very real thing, or is it a check in a box? Is it something that you say? And if it is a real thing, is there anything that needs to happen? Like, do you guys already have a system where you go back and look at old candidates? Is it only if I keep in contact with you and my name comes back up when there's another interview or another position?
Oh, we'll never know. So,
Right.
but that's a good question. So what you're talking about, that comment that we say, will be with a good recruiter is called repurpose talent.
Yeah.
So if my silver medalist candidate or my number two, if they don't get the job, my job is to try and sell their skill set over to another hiring manager. And that is difficult on our end. So just because you don't tell me what we're doing doesn't mean we're not doing it behind the scenes. And the reason why we may not tell you is because we don't want to get your hopes up and say, Brittany, I sent your resume over to Alfie and Fatima and Tiana, and I hope we get a hit. Like, I don't want to get your hopes up. So what I would do in secret is send your resume over to see if I get a hit first. But I'm telling you after the fact, this is what I've done, I just haven't gotten a hit yet. So I can only speak for myself. I am not the recruiter who's going to study book tickets and not deliver on my word. And that's just only because the duty of care is different when you meet a recruiter who really does care and who's good at what they do, in conjunction with being able to make sure that you have a really good candidate experience. You're not always going to get feedback. You're not. The thing is, as much as you want feedback, what I'm about to say is hard, so take it with a grain of salt. You are actually not entitled to feedback, right? Even though you should get feedback, companies are not always going to give it to you. And the reason for that is because I've actually heard stories where recruiters have given feedback and the candidate didn't like feedback. So candidate has now conjured up a lawsuit because they didn't like feedback. So now companies have instructed their employees to not give feedback to protect the company's interests. That is not all companies, but it has happened in the past. People think that's ridiculous. I also think that's ridiculous, but it's a thing. All of that to say, when you come across, both of you, when you come across good recruiters, they're going to keep their word and they're going to make sure you have a good candidate experience. The sad part is, like Tiana said, we get a bad rep. And the sad part is there are many bad recruiters in the world, but you will come across some good recruiters. You got 4 good recruiters up here who are telling you what we'll do to make sure you have a really good candidate experience. Don't worry, I can make it wrong.
Hello. Thanks for sharing such valuable insights. My question has to do with the cool-off period, if there's any. And I guess it builds on top of what the others asked before. So, how long do you recommend someone to reapply for a position after going through like an unsuccessful experience with the company?
So, contradicting what I said before. So, the best advice that you can give about a cool-off period is if you get feedback. Because if you get feedback and you know how you did in your interview, it'll tell you how long you need in the interim to prepare for the next cycle of interviews, or within the gap that you have to apply to another role. I would say if you did not get a job, but you also didn't get feedback, I would apply again. Personally, I would tell you apply every single time until somebody tells you yes. Apply every single time, right? Caveat to that, and I'm about to go with what me and Tiana talked about earlier. I am also not the recruiter that's going to tell you to apply to a role that you don't qualify for. I am only telling you that for the roles that you meet the basic minimum qualifications. The preferred qualifications are the nice to have. You do not have to meet all of those. But the basic minimum qualifications, if you meet the basic minimum qualifications for the roles that you're interested in, apply every single time. Don't matter about a cool-off period. Some companies do have a cool-off period that's like 90 days, some are 120 days, some are 6 months.
Thanks.
Hi guys, my name is Betty Manassi, and I want to say thank you guys for taking your time to come out and share your knowledge with us today. I have 2 questions. One question is, and I'm working on speaking in public because I get really nervous sometimes.
You're doing good, yeah.
Okay, so one question would be for new software developers. When we're attaching projects to our resumes, what is something that you look out for, and what are some tips do you recommend to us?
Good job. That's a great question about projects.
I think that you should include a link to your GitHub profile that takes somebody directly to the page that shows your commits. That's number one. Number two, if you've got an app or a project that you published, include a link to that. If you've spoken on a podcast about this, or you did a class project or a video about what you're passionate about on YouTube, make sure there's a video to that. I'm a real big believer that you got to show your body of work so that somebody can assess that in totality.
Shameless plug, Africans at Tech, we got whiteboard sessions.
And then the second question would be, for someone who has a lot of skills, right? Because you've learned things throughout school, how do you showcase that without taking away from what the job is specifically looking for? For example, say if you have experience in data analytics, but then you are I don't know, how would I write this?
A full stack engineer?
Yes, and then you have network experiences and you've done a little bit of cybersecurity. So how would you package all of that to not, I guess, take away that opportunity and make you, I don't know how to word it.
No, I like what you're saying. So here's what I would do, and I think that we're gonna have a diversity of opinion on this, is that I would actually rank all my skills in a skills section, because as Tatiana kind of spoke about with regards to ATS, somebody may type in a term for network security and say, oh, this is a full stack engineer who also knows network security. That wasn't what I was looking for, but that's the preferred requirements. I'd want to share that, especially if it's a company that's keeping your resume on file. Is there anybody who wants to add anything to that?
I would also say, you want to make sure you are you're speaking to the job you're applying to. So although you may have a diverse set of skills, those are great. You have to remember you don't have room on your resume to showcase every single skill that you've learned, right? So the discipline in writing your resume, or getting with a resume writer, in particular, and getting with a resume writer is being able to make sure your resume is speaking to what the hiring manager needs for you to do in that particular job. It doesn't mean that you can't use those other skills that you've learned in school or in your programs or wherever. It just means I need to get to the hiring manager right now. So you may be able to talk to those skills in the interview. You may be able to talk to those skills when you get the job, but focus on the skills that you need to sell yourself. I feel like when you say sell yourself in slavery, when you're selling your skill set to the hiring team because you're speaking to what the job description is asking for. That make sense?
I'm just add something real quick. I think you gotta find what you're passionate about too, right? So you can be a jack of all trades and a master of none, right? So I think you have to pick one of those skills and hone in on that and sell yourself on that versus like trying to sell yourself on being a full stack engineer, a network engineer, a cybersecurity person. Like that's across the gamut, right, when it comes to IT. And if I'm a hiring manager and I'm looking at a resume, I'm looking at, oh, she doesn't really know what she wants to do just yet, right? So just pick something that you feel passionate about and focus on that.
Yeah, final thought, just you and some of the others as well. I always try to look for the opportunity in everything. So even the job that you didn't get, stay in touch with the recruiter. Stay nice. I can't think of one person. Now there are a lot of people I work with that I don't like, but I did make an enemy out of them because you never know when you might cross paths later. So I've never been the type of person like, oh no, I got to get that last word in this email. Like I'm gonna clap back. Like, I don't know who they're talking. Like I'll sit back and watch a podcast for an hour and then respond. Cool, we'll do. Like I wanted to go out, but I knew that wasn't going to get me anywhere. And I say that like you never want to burn your bridges. You always want to look at these opportunities. And so for someone like you that you say you can do all these different things, you should like look at like nonprofits that may not have someone to do some of the more simple IT tasks. And they would love someone who can engineer and do network administration and do cybersecurity, a little bit of everything.
just to kind of start to build up your resume, and then you can start to specialize and sort of, I like to call it sort of like leapfrog to something else. And then like the individuals who, I didn't hear back or whatever, close the loop on it. Like if they didn't get back to you, it's like, hey, not sure what happened, but I assume I didn't get the job. I appreciate the opportunity to keep me in mind. I'm telling y'all, like these little small things go a very long way. Because me showing, or you showing me that you were so mature about that situation, I dropped the ball. I may come back and be like, I'm so sorry. I actually was waiting on the hiring manager. They went off the bridge for 2 weeks. I should have followed up with you or something like that. Like, like these things happen, but now you're back on the radar. You know what? Actually, let me introduce you to Brian. I know he's working on some things. Like that's kind of how what I mean by look for these opportunities. Like stay nice to everybody you run into. If you feel like you were done wrong, just cut them off. But don't be that person that I gotta stick the knife in and twist it just to make myself feel good, because I promise you no money is gonna come from that, and that's what the goal is, or at least mine is. To get paid at the end of the day.
My microphone. But thank you so much to our panelists. Yes. So definitely want to give the opportunity for you guys to exchange socials, exchange contacts, and we will continue the conversation in our networking mixer. So thank you all so much. That's why I thought work together.
Thank you all so much, and a big round of applause for